First question, what do you think are the main factors contributing to the high attrition rate among doctorate students?
Well, it's just the pressure of doing the doctorate and getting it accomplished, and working with the mentor and the committee is extremely difficult. And again, it's also life. In other words, while you're doing this, and this is going on and on and on, you also have to survive and be able to make a living, and and be able to survive financially, and that's very, very hard. And the timing here can be very, very lengthy and very oppressive, depending on who your mentor is and whether the mentor is encouraging, and what your committee is, and how many comments and changes you receive, and feedback you receive, and how cooperative the committee and the mentor are. So all those factors contribute to attrition, because it's hard to last it out. That's all there is to it, I think.
So which role do you think mentors play in determining the success of doctorate students?
Right, pivotal, absolutely pivotal. I mean, the mentor really is your driver. If the mentor cares, I mean, I would say my mentor was very caring. He cared. He kept telling me, you've got to finish your doctorate. You've got to finish your doctorate. But not all mentors are like that. And in many universities, again, I'm not being critical, but it's realistic, the mentors are not encouraging. In fact, they're not encouraging at all, and they're not always attentive. And the doctoral students have to really try to get the attention of the mentors. So yes, it's absolutely pivotal. The mentors are the key. They can move it along or let it lapse, or let it languish, I was going to say, rather.
And how do you various skills such as confidence, time management, critical thinking, and interpersonal skills relate to doctoral persistence?
Yeah, I think those are very important. So for example, time management is the key. Time management is the key element to this, because what happens is you kind of put this aside because it's so difficult, and you go on and do other things, and then time passes on and time passes on, and then you come back to it, and then you pick it up, and then you go on to other things. So managing time and being attentive to time is crucial. As far as interpersonal skills, I mean, again, it depends I don't know what we mean by that. Do we mean in accomplishing the doctoral project, or accomplishing the interpersonal skills with the committee and the mentor? If it's the second, it's very important. You really have to work with that committee and have good interpersonal skills, but mostly persistence. About critical thinking, I don't really, I'd have to think some more. I'd have to think about more about that. I think the key is managing your time, having a supportive mentor, and working well with the committee. I mean, the committee is very unpredictable. You never know what comments. I hear many, many stories from doctoral students who, are sitting around and waiting for the comments. They don't get the comments. The committee doesn't get together. And finally, months go by, and then the committee gives comments. And those comments can be very, very complex and difficult to attend to. I mean, and even in my case, I mean, I got comments that required the complete revamping of the draft that I had prepared. And so that took a lot of time to do it. And the committee didn't produce it right away. And then suddenly they produced it. So they have to get their act together. And I think that's where the interpersonal skills come into play, trying to work with the committee to see if they can keep you on track, but you also have to keep them on track too, to be focused on what you're doing and not to be distracted with the millions of other things that the professors are doing, because they are busy doing other things, not just mentoring you.
What are the specific abilities that differentiate doctoral persistent students from those who quit before they complete their doctoral studies?
The best example I would give is Sisyphus, the story of the guy who rolls the rock up the hill and it rolls back down on him. And that is what it's like to write a doctorate, because as much as you do the doctorate and you work on it, and then you push the rock up the hill and you think you made progress, then it rolls down the hill and you get crushed. So you got to push it up the hill again. So I think this kind of persistence is a personality trait. Now, there are many people, and I had friends that went through the program with me, didn't go, they didn't finish it off. There could be other factors too, and I could be very blunt about it. There could be economics and an ability to sustain yourself. Some people didn't have the wherewithal to continue doing doctoral studies and not working and doing other things, or they have a family, or they have a life and they need to pursue that, and they can't spend all their time on this without some support. And of course, there is the support of family too. Is your family, your spouse, your family are happy that the fact that you're spending all your time on this semester after semester, and it doesn't seem, and I say this very candidly, it doesn't seem like you're getting anywhere like concrete, because you are depending on other people for your success and for your ability to move to the next step. So it's a very daunting, and I would say psychologically very, very, very daunting, because you're always thinking you want to do this and this is your life's work and you want to complete it, but then you just don't, you do it and you keep trying to do it, but you just don't get like to the next step fast enough. And then something hits you like the rock on the hill, and the committee comes back and it says, no good. You've got to go back and do A, B, and C. So there is an element of unpredictability. One other thing I want to mention, which is very important, which I did not mention, and this doesn't apply to me, but in some major universities, I've heard, and I didn't do research, the professors in these big top universities, top research universities, very often are not encouraging to their doctoral students. And why? And this is something interesting I heard from a doctoral student. I'll say at Columbia, and I don't mean anything against Columbia, it's a top school. The professors in this particular department view the doctoral students as competitors, so that when you're a young doctorate from Columbia, you are a very marketable person. And now here are these senior professors, and they're getting older and older. So they're thinking, who are these snot-nosed kids getting a doctorate? And that is real life. That's how it really works. So in order to get that doctorate, you really have to be super persistent and get the attention of these professors. Next other point is, some of these professors are extremely, extremely famous, popular. They're on TV, they're writing books. So they're not making time for you all the time, and it takes a long time for you to get an appointment with them. So all the things we just mentioned lead to the need for extraordinary psychological focus, family support, and persistence, which sometimes people say, I'm not going to pursue it because I'm just going to go off and do, my other career or something else. And that's reality. But I think I would say the message is it is doable, and it can be done, and it can be achieved. And there are a lot of factors involved, and it can be done because people do it, and it can be done. Clearly, it can be done, but it requires a certain focus and persistence, and also psychologically not to get dissuaded from doing it, not to get deflected from it, and just do your best to push ahead and do your best, and you'll do it. And that's hard to do, especially when you're not in control of everything that's in the factor of what makes this a possibility. You're not in control of everything. Usually in life, you have a family, this is that you control. Here, you've got all these factors. Your work can be stellar work, by the way. And in fact, in the case I mentioned between you and me, I mean, the history department at Columbia, this was a top scholar. I mean, this is a top scholar, but he's dealing with the top scholar in the field. And that person is so busy and so occupied and preoccupied, he'll go off on a sabbatical, or something, you can't see him, and he's gone for the semester, or she. So the point is, you need to have the rapport, pick the right mentor. You have to pick a mentor who is actually going to care about you and pay attention to you and be there for you, and not be absent. So I hope that was helpful or interesting. But that's
And my last question is,
yes, please.
which factors do doctoral students attribute to their persistence, and why they are important?
Right. I think I said that I thought the most important factor was the psychological factor, and being able not to be dissuaded or disaffected from the goal of trying to get this done. And that if you can be persistent and also, not get upset at every bump and glitch in the road, you'll make it. but not everybody can do it because it's not so easy to do that. It's just a matter, it's a lot about personality, psychology, thinking, and of course, if you say with doctoral students, I'm sure they would say that the support that they got from family and friends was also very important. I think that's kind of, having that cocoon around you that you can actually go do your work, do your studying, pursue what you're pursuing, that you can actually do that and able to focus on it. And it'd be the same story about law school too, or anything else like that. Any other thing you try to achieve.
All right, Professor, thank you so much for your time.